I'm going to walk through this monitor like I'm sitting at a desk with you, because buying a 31-inch 4K OLED screen isn't a decision you want to rush. You've probably seen the headline numbers 3840 by 2160, KD, a 144Hz refresh rate and wondered whether those translate into something you'll actually notice day to day, or whether you'll end up paying a premium for a display that sits idle most of the time. That's the exact hesitation I felt, and it's why I dug into how the ASUS ROG Swift OLED Pg32Ucdmz works in a typical gaming plus productivity setup before I hit record. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the biggest question most people have is whether an OLED panel of this size fits into a regular home office or gaming room without causing glare or burning issues. The Pg32Ucdmz uses a Qd panel, which essentially means each pixel can emit its own light and the colors are incredibly vivid. In practice, that shows up as deep blacks that stay truly black even when you crank the brightness up for a bright room. I set mine up on a standard 27-inch desk with a matte black backdrop, and the screen sat comfortably a few inches from my eye level. The stand is a sturdy, fully articulating arm, so you can tilt, swivel, and adjust height without wobble, which is a real time saver if you switch between sitting and a standing desk throughout the day. If you're a competitive gamer, you'll notice the 144Hz refresh rate combined with a 1 millisecond (GTG) response time right away. In fast-paced shooters, the motion feels buttery smooth, and there's practically no ghosting when you spin around a map. The adaptive sync technology, G-Sync compatible, also eliminates tearing, which is something I tested with a few popular titles: Valorant, Cyberpunk 2077, and Apex Legends. In those sessions, the frame pacing stayed consistent, and the monitor handled the high frame rates without stuttering. For a lot of gamers, that's the core value proposition: a high refresh, low latency display that actually feels responsive. But the monitor isn't just for gaming. Because it's a 4K panel with a wide color gamut, it doubles as a solid creative workstation. I spent several evenings editing 4K video footage in DaVinci Resolve, and the color accuracy was impressive straight out of the box. The Qd panel covers close to 100% of the DCI-P3 space, which means the reds and greens pop without any extra calibration. When you're reviewing a design mock-up or tweaking a photo, the level of detail you see in the shadows versus the highlights is noticeably better than on a standard IPS panel of similar size. That said, there are a few trade-offs that become obvious after a few weeks of use. OLED panels, while spectacular for contrast, can be prone to image retention if you leave static UI elements on the screen for long periods. I'm not talking about catastrophic burn-in, but after a marathon coding session with the IDE docked on the left side, a faint ghost of the sidebar was visible for a couple of minutes after I switched to a game. ASUS includes a pixel shift feature that nudges the image imperceptibly to mitigate this, and I found that keeping the feature on plus using a dark mode theme reduced the effect substantially. If you're a developer or someone who keeps a static HUD on screen for many hours, it's something to keep in mind. Another practical concern is power consumption. OLED panels are more efficient when displaying dark content, but at full brightness a 31-inch 4K screen can draw close to 120 watts. In a typical office environment where you might have the monitor on for 810 hours a day, that adds up. It's not a deal breaker, but if you're very conscious about your electricity bill, you might want to dial back the brightness or use the built-in ambient light sensor that adjusts the backlight based on room lighting. Now, who should actually consider buying this unit? If you sit at the sweet spot between high-performance gaming and content creation, the Pg32Ucdmz hits a rare balance. It delivers the fast response and adaptive sync you need for competitive play, while also offering the color depth and pixel density that editors, photographers, and even stock trading enthusiasts appreciate. It also makes sense for anyone who spends a lot of time watching HDR movies or streaming 4K content, because the OLED's contrast makes those bright scenes pop without crushing the dark moments. On the flip side, if you're primarily using a monitor for office spreadsheets, email, or occasional web browsing, you're probably overpaying for a display that's built for far more demanding tasks. A good IPS or VA panel at 1440p would meet those needs at a fraction of the price. Similarly, if you're a console gamer who sticks to 1080p titles, you won't fully exploit the 4K resolution, and the benefits of the high refresh rate become less noticeable because most consoles cap at 60 Hz. One more nuance that often gets overlooked is the built-in USB Type-C hub. The monitor supplies up to 65 W of power delivery, which means you can charge a laptop while it's connected, and you